Welcome back. After dark. Yes, indeed. Hope you're all doing well out there. 2:20 a.m. in the UK over here. So I think we're getting close to that time of night, time of morning, when we need to be hitting the deep woo. And have I got lots of deep woo for you today? We've got creepy dolls, we've got men in black, and then I'm going to take you into the real after dark zone. The after dark zone, you say? Oh yeah, we've got an after dark zone now. Check this out. Yep, indeedy. Yes, we'll be listening to some very creepy stories with some nice accompanying background visuals. Yes, indeed. And if we get really, if we want to go really weird, wait till I show you this. We can go absolutely crazy weird. Are you ready to see me as you've never seen me before? Are you? Look at that. I could do the creepy stories with a creepy face on. But we don't need to be seeing that, right? We don't need to be seeing that. No. Sometimes when you see that, you can't unsee it. We've gone deep woo very early, folks. Oh, now I better get that off or it's going to really start freaking people out. Hang on. Let me just see here. Yep, indeed, that's not the button. Well, let me get to the place, folks. I think I know where to find it. There we are. There we are. Yes, indeed, we're back. We're good to go. We're good to go. And I'm not looking exceedingly creepy. Or at least not any more creepy than I usually do. But it's after dark here, so this means we get a little bit creepier than we usually do. I've got some stories that I've dug up from Reddit r/no sleep. Yes, there'll be no sleep tonight for me, I'm telling you, after I've done this. I've read these stories and they still get me creeped out, so I'm looking forward to giving them to you. But we've got other news that we can look at as well that really falls under the genre of After Dark on KBS. But before we go anywhere, it just wouldn't be Kev. I wouldn't be me. I was almost talking about Kev in the third person there. Dave. Dave is fleeting in and out here, folks. Yeah, it could be one of those ones as well. But I can't go anywhere without coming over to the chat room. And I hope you're all liking our new... Now listen, it's not finished. I had to tell the builders, i.e. me, I had to tell the builders to get rid of all the crap on our new 3D kind of studio that I'm building for us all here. And we're going to have flashing lights, dancing girls, flying unicorns, news going along the back. I'm telling you, it's going to be cracking. It's going to be really good. But I'm looking forward to getting into some of this stuff because I see some of my favourite people out there in Chatland. We've got the Mammoth Hunter. There you go. No particular order here. No particular order. We've got Lewis, King, Tiffany, Malaya. A lot of positive vibes sent out to my sister, Malaya. Hope everything's good with you. We've got Lewis. Good to see you. Who else we got kicking about here? The King. Oh, Rise. Hey, dude. What do you think about Prince Philip having his own religion? Eh? Keeping it in the family and that. Maybe they'll move on to you, dude. Maybe they'll have pictures of the King. How cool would that be, brother? You look like you should be wearing a crown. You've got that whole kind of regal beard thing going on. Telling you, dude, you rock it. You rock it, man. Buzz. A show by a man called Kev Baker. He says it how it is. Not a faker. The woo that he'll give us will give us the shivers. And on Fridays, the tales, they will shake you. Buzzacino, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. Buzz, you need to start writing books and things. I'm telling you, man. You do. Who else we got in here? We've got Rose, Armand, up late, Armand. ZX, more like welcome to the Silly in the Morning Show UK edition. I know, dude. I know, but when I say that I'm on like East Coast American time, it's not just like some cool kind of thing to joke about. Literally, I blame Joe Joseph, Popeye, and in some certain respects, Scotty. He's not quite that East Coast cat, but I blame those two in particular, the Florida man At first the North Kakalaki man, and now he's up in Boston, Massachusetts. Yes, indeed. And I can only say that word because Joe taught me how to say it. So a big shout out to the guys that messed up my body clock. But when you deal in the X-Files, when you go looking for the woo, when you're trying to find that tale of the unexpected, sometimes it's better to be doing it at this time of night. And I would imagine we'll still be on the air when it's 3:33. That's a typical time in the morning when things do start going bump in the night, right? Morning, night. You know what I mean? So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some stories here. And a couple of weeks ago, we looked at a story down in England, and it was very, very creepy, very dark. And it was a woman had gone for a walk in her local woods. And what she found when she went down to the woods that day gave her a big surprise. I think I've heard that story before. But no, what she found was not three bears. What she found was creepy dolls. Remember that story where they'd been pinned up to the trees and there was no real obvious explanation for what was going on, and we theorised that there might be some hocus pocus, some black magic, some occultism attached to it. Well, guess what? It's like the monoliths, because it would seem it's catching on. There's been more creepy dolls turned up, and this time they're even creepier. They might even be creepier than the Island of the Dolls. There you go. Let's take a look at this then. Are we in the right? We're in the right one here. There we are. That's the right one. See, I don't even know where I'm going in my brand new fancy studio here. Yep. So if we come over here, it says pictured the creepy blood-stained dolls found nailed to trees at a Doncaster beauty spot. It says these are the creepy baby dolls daubed with fake blood that have freaked out visitors to a Doncaster beauty spot. So it says yesterday it was revealed how a number of walkers had spotted the bizarre sight while strolling through All Rise, Kingswood, near Bawtry. Bawtry, that's a good name for a place, right? It is not clear who is behind the disturbing display, which has been branded sick and terrific by concerned locals. It is understood that the dolls have been spotted in several locations around the popular beauty spot, which runs alongside the Great North Road. Are we ready, ladies and gentlemen? I present to you some of the creepiest dolls ever. Look at them. What's that all about? What is that all about? Crazy, man. Crazy. What's everyone laughing at in the chat room? So we've got Malaya. Watch out. What's going on here? Watch out. He's a real Texas rounder. He'll come get you with cows attached. I see, sometimes there's better content going on in my own chat room than I provide for y'all. But getting back to the story, folks, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I don't know what can be doing that. It says here, the woman who made a discovery wrote on Facebook, anyone know why these baby dolls have been left in the King's Wood? Feeling pretty freaked out now? Any volunteers to remove them? Bring a carrier bag. Bring a carrier bag? Bring a huge long stick and a flamethrower. One of Elon's not a flamethrowers, please. You need to melt these things and send them back to where they possibly came from. It says two of the dolls nailed to the trees with another nestling in the undergrowth. That makes it sound like it's just lying there in wait. It's like there's two up on the trees to lure you in, and that third one down there, it's just nestled in, ready to come and get you. So it says the incident appears to mirror a similar discovery in Staffordshire last month, when a collection of baby dolls were found near Cannock Chase. There is a suggestion that the dolls were props used by a local ghost hunting group during a recent video in the woods, while others have suggested that the dumping of dolls was people following the recent incident in the West Midlands. I think there could be an aspect where we've got a copycat case here, a copycat doll case, or a copy doll case. Would it be a copy doll case? A creepy doll case. Copycat, creepy cats, creepy dolls. So it's a thing, right? It's like the monolith. It's like when the clowns came along. When you see something like this in the news, you can almost guarantee, you could literally put a limb on the fact that this is going to pop up somewhere else, because everyone wants their 2 seconds of non-fame online on social media, right? Or is it something more sinister? Is there people out there that would happily have us believe that it's just a mere prank and a joke? Is there something darker going on in Doncaster Woods? I'm trying to get my freaky mojo on before we get to the creepy stories, folks. I'm trying, all right? So it says, another Facebook post said, I think it probably some copycat, or as we've just established, a copy creepy clown dolls. I don't know. Where did I get the clowns? Why did clowns come into it? Anyway, I think it's probably some copy doll thing. There was something in the news the other day about somebody finding it in a wood somewhere near Birmingham. In that incident, a 64-year-old woman was left shocked after making her startling find as she walked through Cannock Chase near Hednesford on January the 28th. You know, I don't know, it's a toss-up for me between the creepy dolls and remember the stairways to nowhere? Do you remember that? The creepy, weird stairways in the woods? There's something about the woods that we keep on coming back to here on KBS. I don't know what it is. I like it though, because it's very, very creepy. And that's what we do here on After Dark. But I want to find out what you people are saying. What do you think? I mean, is this maybe associated with something to do with the occult? Are we looking at maybe some youngsters doing some hocus pocus? Watching a bit too much Twilight, maybe? I don't know. Are we looking at people like, pranksters like me that's gone and done this so that somebody like me would get all excited and talk about it on YouTube one day, and they're sitting at home, they'll probably find this video tomorrow and they'll go, yes, we got him. We punked him. I don't know. There's something really weird, but I tell you something, right? If I was walking through the woods on my own, which, to be honest with you, I would do absolutely everything within my own power not to be doing. If there's any other way I can get from A to B without going through a forest, I'm taking it, even if I have to crawl round. Right? Because I ain't too comfortable going through forests on my own, especially after years of telling you people out there that there's creepy things go on in forests. I think a forest has its own consciousness. I know that sounds weird, sounds way out there. I know. Okay? But we talk about the way out there. And sometimes, maybe people just want us to dismiss things as being too way out there because there's something really to it. And when you go down to the woods someday, I hope you ain't in for a creepy doll surprise. So Lewis says it could be some sort of witchcraft. Definitely. A creepy doll fixation, a mega hey, getting happy with on time. It could well be, my friend. It could well be. Remember, we're no strangers to people who have adoration for plastic objects. The traffic cone. Remember, if there's people that can fall in love with a traffic cone, we have to open our minds to the possibility that we could be looking at that. We could also be looking at a dumping ground for a potential serial killer, if I'm really honest with you. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to go there. But I think we could be looking at a potential dumping ground. I want to examine the place. I've seen CSI. We're going to have to check the mushrooms down there. We're going to have to see what kind of fungi is growing on the not so fun guys that have been maybe dumped in there. But anywho, check out Clapham Woods, Kev. UFOs been seen there. Clapham Woods. It just sounds creepy. Nah, I'll hazard a guess that they're in the area of Clapham, ladies and gentlemen. But let me try and dig up something on Clapham Woods. Let's see what freaky scariness it has for us now. Let's see. There we go. We'll get some noise on while we look for this. Clapham Woods, she says. Clapham Woods. There we go. Ooh. hang on now. Oh. Let's see where we are here. Strangeness. Now, Armand, did you not come on and talk to me about Clapham Woods? Or was that, where was that? Where were we talking about, Armand? Dang, look at this place. This place is a little bit creepy right enough. Hang on. We'll get a little bit of music on for this one, I think. The Clapham Woods mystery. Satanism and the occult. Ooh. Says here. Nestled. There's a lot of nestling getting done today by creepy things, eh? Nestled on the southern edge of the rolling hills, woods and grassland of the South Downs in the southeast of England lies the leafy rural village of Clapham in Sussex. Settled for thousands of years, evidence of pagans, druids, those happy druids, the Druids, the Saxons, the Romans is rich and seeps throughout the local area. Now in the 1970s it was an idyllic rural British village. But on the outskirts of the village, obscured by the woods, evidence of a much darker group begun seeping out. Strange disappearances of animals reported. And then, ladies and gentlemen, and then came the bodies. This is Dark Histories, where the facts are worse than fiction. So it says the South Downs is a long range of rolling chalk hills that borders Winchester in the west, and Stenches, I bet you did that day. It stretched for over 70 miles eastwards across counties to the chalk cliff faces of Beachy Head in Eastbourne. Holding national park status, its farmland, dry valleys and steep hills are interspersed with thick wooded areas and dotted throughout small villages and towns nestle. What is it with things nestling? There better not be nestling in my creepy stories today. Among the green landscape. Ooh. Inhabited and settled for thousands of years, there is archaeological evidence of Neolithic mines and Iron Age forts scattered throughout the green hillsides. Mammoth, you and Dan need to get over here. I've got a place needs excavating. So it says two of these forts are atop large hills on the outskirts of Clapham. The first is named Chanctonbury and sits at a height of 782 feet. And there is Sisbury that stands at 600 feet. Ooh. Numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Numbers, get your gematria gymnastics on the go. The visible remains of the fortified walls from the larger circular indentations on the vast hilltops are known simply as Sisbury Ring and Chanctonbury Ring. Along with Rackham Hill, they form the Devil's Triangle, a triplet of large earthen hills said to have been created by the devil himself, when he scraped up mounds of earth and threw them aside in an effort to create a valley and flood the area to destroy the Christian churches. Upon hearing the crowing of the rooster, the devil cut short his work and fled, leaving a large valley now known as Devil's Dyke. Moral to the story, ladies and gentlemen, keep yourself a rooster handy. Yes, keep yourself a rooster handy, because when the cock crows, the devil runs. Who knew? Who knew, ladies and gentlemen? Who knew? So the village of Clapham sits quietly alongside these hills. Baker, it's not a comedy stream. Get your scary X-File head on. Okay, Dave, I will. Sorry, folks, you had to hear that there, but I just have a quiet word with myself, you know. The village of Clapham sits quietly alongside these hills, and the church in the village was built in the 12th century and is dedicated to St. Mary in 1406. The local farmland of Lee Farm acted as a sleepy, or not as a sleepy colony, it was actually a leper colony back in the day. Acted as a leper colony in the 13th century. And now what Armand is saying, I was on Chanctonbury Ring, and my bike was crushed. Holy mogoly. Shh, that doesn't make this place any less creepy to talk about, Armand. So, we're back to the leper colony in the 13th century, and in the surrounding area, with its high vantage points, played important roles in invasions from the Saxons to the Romans, and was used in armoured vehicle training during World War II. In modern times, Clapham is a quiet, rural village with a population of 275, a footprint of 2 square miles, and consists of only a handful of streets and dusty tree-lined footpaths. 6 miles to the southwest lies the town of Littlehampton, and 5 miles to the east. Southeast is Worthing, with the city of Brighton and Hove just 12 miles along, along the now busy dual carriageway. Now built in the 20th century as a modern alternative to what was once the main trading route between Chichester and Brighton. So we come down High Strangeness. This is where we want to get to. The devil has a long and varied history in folklore throughout Sussex and lends his name to many places. Many of the churches have, at some point in the distant past, had their northern entrances bricked up as a form of preventing evil from entering the sacred houses. There are reports of holy shamoly, Alistair Crowley using the Chanctonbury Ring to practice his particular form of paganism, and it is suggested by those that subscribe to such theories that ancient ley lines cross and weave all along the ancient ruins, standing stones, mines and forts of the South Downs. In a woodland area outside of Clapham village, there are numerous reports of strange happenings that draw from the folk history in the area. And in 1967, when a group of university students attempted to spend the night within Chanctonbury Ring, they left in a sudden panic, leaving all their equipment behind, though none of the group ever told details of the story. In 1968, a UFO research group who used the hill for its high vantage point and seclusion from light pollution were shocked to the core when, as they were walking up towards the ring, were swept by waves of cold, bitter air. Many of the members complained at feeling nauseous, whilst others had trouble breathing. Upon leaving the ring, all of their conditions returned to normal. This is a common story for the Chanctonbury Ring and Clapham Wood, which have winding leafy pathways spidering through the overgrowth and prove popular with local dog walkers and hikers. The stories are numerous of a sudden sweeping sickness, dizziness, weakness problems, and taking breath, and perhaps most disturbingly, feelings of being pulled by an unseen force that has affected both human and animals alike. Talking to the local press, a Mrs. Goodman reported that whilst out walking her dog and beginning to feel uneasy, she experienced a great struggle trying to get away from the wood, claiming that it was as though I was being pulled back and my legs grew weak. It was quite frightening. There's something strange about that wood. So among the walkers, it's often discussed and remarked upon by the lack of wildlife in the Clapham Wood and Chanctonbury area. In particular, the stillness of the air and peculiar lack of birdsong. That there is very strange. Very strange. Now, if there are mines in the area, could it be that maybe some pockets of gas from time to time come up and escape and affect people? Affect animals? Could be. Could be. I don't think that's what drew Alistair Crowley to the area. Just saying. Just saying. So if we go on down here, it says, David Bennett, the Clapham church warden, was a keen ornithologist and enjoyed recording the song of the nightingale However, he noted that since the mid-1970s, the presence of any song at all had completely disappeared. The woods are left with an uncanny silence, rarely found anywhere else on the South Downs. In 1975, the Worthing Herald, a local newspaper, carried a story which detailed mysterious accounts on the behaviour of dogs in the area. Wallace, a 3-year-old chow belonging to Mr. Peter Love, was being taken for a walk by his son in the area of the wood locally known as the Chestnuts, when it simply disappeared. Now, despite a thorough search, no trace of the dog was ever found. Missing 411. Canine Edition. Following the publication of the story, numerous other local residents contacted the paper to report their own experiences, and a week later, a 2-year-old collie belonging to Mr. John Cornford also disappeared in almost the same spot of Clapham Woods. This dog, too, was never found. And aside from disappearances, there were also reports of dogs becoming agitated. And in the case of Mr. Rollins, whilst out walking his golden retriever, the animal became partially paralysed and later had to be euthanized. Mrs. Wells told of how her collie became so agitated as they neared the Chestnuts, she immediately turned around and took her dog home. One sight of the Chestnuts. That was all it took to make Mrs. Wells go a-running, whereby it calmed down as soon as they left the vicinity. The story was emulated by the owner of a pug, who noticed her dog shaking violently and began foaming at the mouth upon their approach to the area. Thinking the dog was having a type of fit, she rushed to a local vet, who found no physical problems and pronounced it perfectly healthy. Dogs are one story, but horses quite another. There is another report of a rider who tethered his horse to a tree whilst he went into the undergrowth or overgrowth to relieve himself, and upon returning, the horse had completely disappeared and was never found. On the rocky and overgrown hillside, there is also the existence of a mysterious pit, where nothing appears to grow and no one seems to know how and when it was created. There are theories of an ancient lime pit, as well as some who claim it was a Second World War bomb that dropped in the crater and created it as a crater. The truth is completely unknown and completely unrecorded, however, and it's simply referred to as the pit. Now, Armand has dropped some pictures over at the disco. I'll get them in a moment. It says, alongside vague stories of, oh my word, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, I need Scott Lopez here. A dense mist. There's that bloody dense mist again that always seems to appear, which seemed to take shape. Oh, now this is a different type of mist altogether. Hold on tight, folks. Deep woo. Alongside vague stories of a dense mist which seemed to take the shape of animals, a fox and a bear. And there are 3 well-known haunting legends surrounding Clapham Woods and the Chanctonbury Ring. The ghost of an ancient Saxon man was said to have stalked around the ring, scrabbling on the ground, and always seemed to be looking for something. In 1866, a local ploughman uncovered a hoard of Anglo-Saxon silver coins in a small pit on the hillside, and ever since reports of the Saxon ghost ceased. There are many folk tales concerning running around the ring at midnight, sometimes circling clockwise, sometimes anti-clockwise, 6 times or 12 times. The means are varied, however the end result is the same, and that is upon completion of the rite, the ghost of a druid is said to appear inside of the ring. There are many folk tales concerning running around the ring at midnight. I've done that, but bang, dang. Finally, the visage of a medieval astrologer who took up residence in the ring to study stars. His shining ghost is said to glide in and out of the trees following a sudden lowering of the temperature, and has been seen and reported on numerous occasions by people from all walks of life. In 1935, Dr. Philip Gosse, who lived within viewing distance of Chanctonbury Ring and held a special fondness for the area, said of the incident, "Naturally, the ring is haunted. Even on bright summer days, there's an uncanny sense of some unseen presence which seems to follow you about. If you enter the dark wood alone, you are conscious of something behind you. When you stop, it stops. When you go on, it follows. And even on the most tranquil days, when no breath of air stirs the leaves, you can hear a whispering somewhere above you. And if you should be so bold as to enter the ring on a dark night, not bloody me, as my wife and I did, what were they going in for there? We never shall repeat that visit. Some things are best left forgotten, if they can be." Who knows what they were getting up to in the woods that night, ladies and gentlemen. But the folk tales surrounding the area are widespread, and most everyone knows at least one tale of strangeness that has taken place there. Beyond stories, however, lies real evidence of something much darker, much more physical, lurking in the shadows of the wood. A threat which could, in part at least, explain the disappearance of animals and possibly so much more. So if I come over to Disco, oh, putting the creeps up myself here. I'm not meant to get creeped out on my own stream. What's that all about? What is that all about now? I'm trying to find where. There we go. Hang on then. Okay. Okay, Armand. Good man. Bring this over here. Bring that over here. No, hang on. Let's see. Saving these folks. Will be 2 secs. Right. I think I'll be able to go through all of this Clapham Wood story because I've still got the things I had planned to get to, but we'll take a look at this just now. Take a little look at the occult bit in a moment. Let's see. Hang on. I don't even know if these pictures saved, dude. Nightmare. You see, this is the thing. You end up trying to do something and you put yourself all wrong, but oh my word. So Armand dropped this book into the chat room. Let me pull this up. There you go. The Demonic Collection. An investigation into really dark stuff in England and the international black magic conspiracy. Blah, blah. That looks like a good book, dude. Not I tell you, that looks like some creepy bedtime reading, I'm telling you. Hang on, what else we got here? Oh, dang. There we go. Is this the ring? Yep, that's Chanctonbury Ring. So that's the ring that they're talking about. Oh, even those stones look creepy. Are you kidding me on? Those stones look terrifying. What's that all about? Right, where's the other ones? Let's see. Top tip if you're ever going to start streaming, folks, don't open too many windows. It's just a nightmare. It looks cool and it's great at the time, but see when you start losing things, it's not good. Not good now. This here, I take it this is some kind of drawing of what's meant to frequent that place. Again, terrifying. And then we've got some headlines about the disciples of the devil. I'm not going to put that one on the screen though, because it gets exceedingly dark, some of those headlines. You can imagine what's in there. All I'm going to do just now is I'm going to get a little drink, folks. I need to wet the whistle. I need to wet the whistle. Yes, and then we'll come back and we'll get into more of this crazy woods. Clapham Woods. Or is it Clapham Woods? I think it is. And then we'll get back into what we've got. And of course, we've still to get into our very, very creepy stories for today. Oh. You see, it's the only good thing at this time of night. I don't have to rush because I don't have, like, the main show coming up. Remember, hit like, hit share, and if you want to become a member, all you got to do is click that big join button down below. It'll give you several options from very, very budget to very, very crazy. And if you want to support the channel, it is much appreciated, but not obligatory. This is some good stuff. Like in the After Dark. Good shout by Kazzy. Kazzy's probably gone to bed and I'm still doing all the Clapham Wood things that we were talking about. But we're going to get back to them right now. Because now we're about to enter the occult. Oh my word.
How dare you?
Oh, just when it was getting a little bit more creepy. Dang.
Excuse me, it's man.
And then it got really creepy. So, with that said, aside from the various other reported phenomena, Chanctonbury has also been the focal point for several reported UFO sightings, offering fairly easy access as well as a high vantage point and a level of seclusion, able to remove a night sky watcher from the light pollution of the nearby city of Brighton and Hove and large towns of Worthing and Littlehampton. It has been the site of choice for many night watchers over the years. In 1968, local ufologist Charles Walker was attending one such night watch taking place on Chanctonbury Ring. The group took a break from the extended vigils when a sudden bout of sickness and temporary blindness struck many members of the group. Being of curious mind, it was this event, which he found difficult to explain, that prompted Charles to begin investigating the area of Clapham Woods and Chanctonbury. What he was to discover was beyond anything which had been uttered of the area so far. In the late 1970s, Charles was investigating the numerous reports of missing dogs in Clapham Woods in relation to his own research. He had placed an advert in the local paper appealing for information that included his personal telephone number, and unsurprisingly, he had received a number of prank calls, and so he was somewhat suspicious of a wild goose chase when one evening in 1978, he received an anonymous phone call from a well-spoken man suggesting that they should meet. Arrangements were made for the pair to meet at 9 p.m. that night in the now renowned area of the woods named the Chestnuts, close to the disappearances and strange happenings that had been taking place. The problem for Charles was that the call had come in at 8:30 p.m. With little time to decide, he jumped on his bike and rode to the meeting spot without giving too much thought as to the motives of the caller. Stranger phones you up about an area where you think there's shenanigans and high strangeness going on. You've never spoke to this cat before. Now, I remember it was a far simpler time. Well, I don't remember, I was 2 at the time, but I know it was a far more simpler, trusting time back then. But I don't know if I'd been cycling off to the woods at 9 o'clock at night to meet a stranger. Hey, I like the woo, but there's only so far I'm going to go for you folks, and to the woods to meet strangers. That's a story for another YouTube channel. I ain't going there. It says, as he walked up the overgrown footpath to the meeting point, he felt a moment of fear as he suddenly realised now he was out in the isolated woodland, surrounded by nothing but darkness in all directions, that perhaps he was not entirely safe. Alone, he waited. After several minutes of pacing back and forth, however, he began to suspect that perhaps the caller had led him on a path to nowhere, just another prank. And there was no sign of the caller, and he turned to leave and make his way back down the path to the warmth of the humming traffic below and the lights of the busy main road. As he began to move away, however, a voice echoed out from the darkness of the bushes. It offered Charles details of information he had coveted for several years prior. Writing in the demonic collection, the man said to have spoken thusly: "Don't attempt to look for me. For your safety and mine, it is imperative that you do not see who I am." He then went on, "I am an initiate of the Friends of Hecate, a group formed in Sussex. The nearest I can describe our activities to you is that we are followers of Satanism. At every meeting we hold an offering of some animal or other. And my fellow initiate who is with me tonight will confirm that if you doubt what I say. We hold meetings in Clapham Woods every month, and dogs or other domestic or farm animals are offered. It all depends on what is easy to obtain at the time." Charles then apparently asked if the group were connected to the missing dogs in the area, to which he got the reply, "I've already told you that our cult demands offerings at every meeting," and then went on to add a last ominous warning to Charles. "There are people in high places, holding positions of power and authority, who directly involved and will tolerate no interference. We will stop at nothing to ensure the safety of our cult." So who's the Friends of Hecate? I hear you all asking from underneath your covers, crawling out from underneath the sofa. Well, Hecate refers to the ancient Greek goddess born of Perses and Asteria, who takes 3 forms, pictured with 3 human forms, as well as the head of a dog, the snake, and a horse, as well as the goddess of the moon, Selene, the moon in heaven, Artemis, the huntress on earth, and Persephone, the destroyer of in the underworld. It is suggested that her initial form was that of a friendly and benevolent birth deity. However, since the medieval period had become most commonly associated with her darker aspects, that of the crossroads, long referenced in folklore as gateways to the underworld, of witchcraft, herbs, and poisonous plants, ghosts, necromancy, and sorcery, and she is commonly referred to as the goddess of night terrors. Closely associated with dogs, she's the keeper of Cerberus, and although it's proposed that originally the dogs were symbols of childbirth and fertility, this interpretation later gave way to the concept of dogs as manifestations of souls and demons which accompany her. As her sacrificial animal. It said that the dogs were often done away with and then consumed. Francis King's book, published in 1972, which is called Sexuality, Magic and Perversion, details how to invoke the goddess Hecate with a recitation that follows. Well, guess what, folks? I ain't going to be reciting it. I'm sorry, but I ain't. Come, infernal Bondo, goddess of the broad roadways. I ain't going any further than that. Ain't going any further than that. So I think on that note, we're getting an idea of the strangeness of the woods at Clapham. And that was something we hadn't even planned to go into tonight. But it's awesome. Because we're not in a rush. Or I'm not. And we're getting close to that witching hour. Oh, get your gematria calculators out. 333 is on the way. Connie. Wow. Thank you very much, Connie. Now, wow, that was quick as well. Now, why was there no speaking? Oh, did you not put one on it? Connie, I'm just going to sit here and say, Connie, you're amazing. Connie, you are awesome. Connie, thank you for the super chat. Boom, we'll do it again. There you go. Thank you very, very much. Look, oh, look. Homer's almost dancing. We can get him dancing on our little thing. That's eventually going to have like a spinning holographic KBS sign. And like I said, it'll be dancing girls and hellhounds. A whole heap of things running about. So, anyway, we're going to shift gears now. We're going to go to Loch Ness. Yes, Loch Ness, but not your typical Loch Ness story. A man in black around Loch Ness? Say it isn't so? Oh, but it is. It is, and I've got news of it here for you in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back with lots of creepy After Dark. Leslie, go grab the fleecy blanket. Get the PPP. And I'll bring you the woo-hoo-hoo. Yes, I will, because I ain't going anywhere anytime soon. That whole story was something we hadn't even planned for. There you go. There you go. See? Telling you, I got your needs all taken care of, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to the woo, you need go no further than right here. KBS After Dark. I can feel more After Darks coming because this whole not having to rush, I'm liking it. And to get you in the mood, how about something creepy? How many of you jumped? How many of you jumped? Hit share, folks. Hit share. I won't be happy and Dave won't be happy till we at least get 50 people crapping their pants. Oh, ZX, I knew you wouldn't, you party pooper. Always bloody one. There's always bloody one in there that doesn't get a fright. And I've got so many mates like you. Telling you, man, telling you. I got a fright and I knew it was coming. But that's the kind of guy me and Dave are. Or should I say, me and Kev. Because Dave is now in the building. That music heralds the start of Dave. It's Dave music, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what it is now, though. We've just made it up on the fly. That's Dave music. I need a drink before we head to Loch Ness. I'd love to say this broadcast was brought to you by Tango, but with a grand total of 44 viewers, I don't think they'll be coming along with any sponsorship deals anytime soon. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay, because we'll keep on throwing the woo out there, ladies and gents. Yes, indeed. And I promised you all this would be where we do our live streaming. And I mean it. I totally mean it, folks. I like it. It might sound insane that I like doing this to a smaller audience, because we would probably get double over on the big channel. I like to keep it like this. I like it where I can kind of say I get to know you as much as you can get to know your audience. And hopefully it'll grow bigger over time. But right now, this is absolutely fantastic. And Kazi, thank you so, so much. Not just for that, but that awesome story as well. So I'm pretty sure when Armand was on the show, I think he might have mentioned those woods before, but I tell you what, that made for some perfect after dark material. And so does this. Not that, this. There we go. If we come to one of my favourite websites, as you all know, Nick Redfern has been writing about a mysterious character in black at the home of Nessie. And I've seen somebody in the chat room saying that they had heard about, let me see, Deborah says, oh, I like it, DeKalb Baker. I like that. I'm going to start calling myself DeKalb. It looks like I'm German. DeKalb Baker. Show. I have heard of the shadow of the black man with a black shadow on the banks of Loch Ness. This may fit in there. It may fit in there. I don't know, because I'm reading this raw for the first time with all of you. So on the night of June the 2nd, 1973, Ted Holliday, a renowned Nessie seeker. Now, I tell you what, we laugh and joke about me being the monster guy, but that there's a monster guy. Trust me. He did nothing less than try and exorcise the beasts of Loch Ness and banish them to the supernatural realm that he believed that they came from. It was a tumultuous night, one which saw him take on the dark waters and try to forever eject the monsters from the legendary loch. And by the end of the night, he was emotionally exhausted and fraught and frazzled. The day after, however, proved to be even more terrifying. It was while he took a walk down to the loch shoreline shortly after breakfast that Holiday encountered something terrifying. At first, everything seemed normal. The skies were clear, the sun was shining, and the oppressive atmosphere of the night before was well and truly gone. As Holiday looked around, however, he could see, at a distance of perhaps 30 metres, a man dressed completely in black. A man who was staring right at him from the top of a small peak that overlooked the lair of the long-necked monsters. On seeing the man, said Holiday, highly astutely, I felt a strong sensation of malevolence, cold and passionless. That was barely the start of things. Despite the sense of dread that had enveloped him, Holiday decided to walk towards the man and confront him. What a most unwise choice that was. The closer Holiday got, the weirder things became. Holiday could see that the stranger in black appeared to be dressed neck to foot in some kind of tight-fitting, shiny black plastic. Maybe he just wandered, or maybe he was just on his way home from a party. It's Fort Augustus is up there, folks. There's some strange parties happening. I'm just saying. I'm trying to make myself feel better here. Also, a black helmet of sorts, vaguely like the kind of thing a biker would wear, covered his head. A thick pair of tinted goggles were the only thing that Holiday could see of the man's face. A black cloth was wrapped around his nose, face, and chin, and even his hands were covered. Holiday sucked in a deep breath and took more steps forward, his heart thumping and the adrenaline pumping. Holiday called out to the man but got no reply. The man in black stood his ground, as if goading Holiday to come closer, which is exactly what he did. Holiday was plunged into a state of cold fear when, as the pair was within 10 feet of each other, he could now see that there appeared to be no eyes behind the goggles, just an impenetrable nothingness. Suddenly, the air was filled with a shrill whistle and the MIB vanished. Woof. Gone. Into oblivion before a stunned Holiday. Now, almost overwhelmed by fear, Holiday half stumbled and half ran for safety. He did so for around a couple of 100 feet before stopping and looking back. The man in black was still not to be seen. Holiday sighed with relief. He should have realised, however, that the man in black was not yet done with him. Oh, no. Exactly 1 year later, and at precisely the same spot where he had encountered the MIB the previous year, Holiday suffered a serious heart attack. He perceived this as a warning to stay away from the loch and its paranormal denizens. If only he had done as he was told. Holiday, however, was not going to let a heart attack get the better of him and his research, good man. And when he was recovered a few months later, Holiday was back to his Nessie studies. It was, however, all too late. In 1979, Holiday had another heart attack, one that took his life. I have to wonder, did the man in black know that Holiday would die exactly 1 year later, and on the exact same site? Of course, if he was a time traveller, he would know the exact time and date of Holiday's medical emergencies. And maybe it's just me, and I don't know where this drawing comes from, but that looks a little bit like Aleister Crowley. I'm just saying now, I do know for a fact that this took place close to Boleskine House. Make of that what you will, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I want you all to get ready now, because we're going to be getting into the real creepy stuff in just a moment. I'm going to go make a coffee. I suggest you do too. We're almost at 50 viewers. 2 have ran away. The creepy guy with no eyes was too much for them. Can you handle the woo that's coming, folks? That's what I need to know. Can you handle it? Because I'm telling you, it's going to get real creepy in here. new music. I see Connie saying, it's new, me playing it. I've actually had it in a folder forever. I went onto the YouTube copyright free segment one day. They've got their own audio studio. And I downloaded a heap of kind of tracks, and that many that I haven't really had the chance to go through them all, put it that way. So I found that one today. I think it makes some good background music, right? But we're about to get into the deep woo now, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, here we go. Now, like I say, these stories are not my own. They come from Reddit, r/no sleep. And fair use, because it's very transformative work. I'll be changing that written word into a spoken word with graphics and creepy music and sound effects. So that totally takes care of any fair use kind of issues that may arise, I hope. Fingers crossed. I would love to sit and read 1-2 creepypasta stories. That'd be awesome. However, they do have copyright on their stories. They've got their own YouTube channel, so I'm not too confident about taking some of their material. But I have found somewhere else that we could mine for woo. I think we might have to do a whole stream on something I heard about today. It would take too long to get into just now. But imagine there was a place where, hey Leslie, thank you, but imagine there was a place where writers got together. Amateur screenwriters, sci-fi enthusiasts, things like that. Hey, thank you.
Having fun. I'm going to sleep with my lights on.
That's the plan. Well, listen, I didn't set out to make anyone go to bed with the lights on. That'd be a horrible thing. That'd be really bad if that was my intention, right? But I'm glad you're enjoying the woo. And like I say, this place where these writers hang out, some of the ideas have actually gone on to be incorporated into like TV shows and movies. And it's like just pure fictional writing. Some real deep woo in there. Now, it's fiction. I'm not trying to blow smoke up anyone's tuchus and pass it off as some super secret squirrel information that I'm getting from some source within the... I don't know what department of wooology it would be, but no, it's a fictional site. But hey, listen, woo is woo, all right? Woo is woo. But the woo I've got for you today, very, very, very disturbing indeed. So let me just shove a bit of atmospherics on in the background, shall we, folks? Yes, indeed. We'll turn that down low. And we'll get ready to enter the After Dark zone. And first up today, I have a story which is called The Man Outside Won't Go Away. The Man Outside Won't Go Away. The man outside won't go away. At first, I thought I should call the police. In hindsight, maybe I should have. Or maybe I shouldn't have. There was a man, a lone man, and he stood in the driveway of my house. Why the man would be there, I had no clue. I lived in a house on the edge of town and next to cornfields, so why this man had any business being in my driveway, I had no idea. No car sat in the drive, and the road in front had no vehicle either. If the man was truly there, then he must have walked. That time I ignored him, thinking he was just lost and just finding his way back to town. Dinner was soon to be done anyway, so I focused more on that. It was about after an hour of eating and resting in the living room that I'd come to remember about the man on the drive. Surprisingly, he still stood there, watching. His back was turned to the house still, and had no sudden movements whatsoever. Now this time, I seriously considered calling the police. If he was dedicated to standing outside in the bitter cold, then surely this guy was mad. I headed for my room to search for my phone. To be truthful with you, I never really used it that often. I was more of a recluse and social media wasn't my cup of tea. 23 out of the 24 hours of the day normally spent sitting on the nightstand charging. However, when I arrived back in my room, it was gone. It was no big deal to me. The man was surely going to leave soon anyway. Surely. The sun set across the fields and out in the direction of the front yard. The night sky rose to replace the blue. I finished washing the dishes in the kitchen and came to find that the man in the driveway had disappeared. Finally, I had been proven right. Just to make sure he was gone, I went to step out onto the front porch for a better view as the living room window couldn't quite view the entire concrete area. Opening the front door to the outside world revealed that the man hadn't left at all. I fell backwards and quickly got up to slam the door shut. The man outside was outside my door. The man outside hadn't left and the man outside was still there. After making sure the door was locked tight, I found myself searching for my phone again. Where could it be? That man was still there. I knew he was still there. I could feel him. And I didn't have the nerve to see if he'd left yet. Sadly, I didn't see his face. All I remember seeing was a black jacket and a green shirt underneath. His face had been above mine, so I figured he must be taller than me. My phone was still nowhere to be found, and at the time I still had no idea where I had misplaced it. For a few more minutes I searched until finding myself back in the living room. By now the house lights needed to be switched on, otherwise I would be in complete darkness. Going to turn on the lamp carefully in the front room revealed the outside of the window, and the man was back standing in his original spot. I still could not make out any very defining details. What happened next wasn't my fault. Blinking is a natural thing that we all do, right? It helps us with our eyes or something. I'm not sure. All I know is that it's important and we all do it. As I blinked for the millionth time that day, the man moved. I don't know how he moved so fast. All I know is that he moved across the driveway in a matter of milliseconds. When I reopened my eyes to find him situated on the porch this time, finally, I could see the man's face. He stared into my soul without a blink, his face a pale, ashen white colour, his nose a bit crooked, and just as his nose, his lips seemed to be crooked in a way that they curled up to the left. His hair on his head was black, but not one facial hair was visible on his face. Quickly reacting to his sudden shift in position, I closed the blinds. "Go away," I shouted, as loud as I could, hoping the man would somehow hear me. Of course, even if he had, I doubt he would have listened by this point. The front door handle began to shake. The man was trying to get in. Luckily, I'd locked it before, and just to make sure he wasn't going to get through the entrance, I found myself placing a chair from the kitchen table up against the door, propped it there, and jammed it shut. By the time I'd been able to do so, the rattling stopped. But then from the kitchen I heard a click and a creak. He had gotten in from around the backyard. The back door, I'd left the back door open, it was still unlocked and already exploited. I dashed up the stairs in order to avoid him. In a leap of faith, but mostly stupidity, I locked myself in the bathroom. In there I found the wrench I kept under the sink. It was my last option, my only defence, if the man was really going to try and get me. The bedroom door went first, then another one. Then the bathroom door handle shook, just like the front doors, and I tried to curse under my breath. "Get out of my house or I'm calling the police." Yelling through the door did no good at all. The shaking only continued, and it increased, and it got louder, and it increased and got louder. And once again I repeated the phrase, still no answer other than the tugging of the door handle. Get out, I demanded, and the man on the other side stopped attempting to open the door abruptly. Silence. No shaking, no rattling, nothing. Instead, he then began to kick the door down as hard as he could. Bang after bang, knock after knock. He became so aggressive I knew he was going to get me. Stop, stop, but he refused to comply until the door ceased to separate us. Only a few kicks and bangs later, and the bathroom door came crashing down. The man stood there. He stared at me once again with his cold, blank face. And I held the wrench up in defence and tried to say get out of my house, but I couldn't. My demands were ignored. I backed away and he stepped fully into the room. To the left was the shower, and I began backing into it. The man approached me fast now. Trying to avoid him at this point was impossible. Being cornered in the shower, I had nowhere left to run. The man pulled me out and pressed me against the window on the far side of the room. Please, what do you want? I can give you anything, bargaining, just like all of my other failed attempts to stop him. Pressing me against the glass hurt my back tremendously. Tears began to run down my face, and I braced for what I thought was the inevitable. Instead, I felt something jab against my stomach. Looking down revealed it was my phone. The man was handing it to me. I cautiously grabbed it and stared at him in horror. I was simply petrified. He stood on his toes and opened the window latches behind me. I started to feel the cold air as it flowed in as he opened it. And in the moment, I'd been too dumbfounded to realise exactly what he was doing. One final time, he looked at me and smiled in such a way that sent chills down my spine. Or maybe it was the chills of the breeze that had done it. And with that, there was a sudden push, and I fell 2 stories down into the backyard. I'm now in hospital, and I have no idea who found me nor how I ended up here. The doctors won't answer those questions. They only told me I had a broken back and broken shoulder bone. I attempted to explain to one nurse caring for me what had happened, but instead of responding, she wrote down notes on her clipboard and walked out of the room. And then my phone is the only connection to the outside world I had. The only positive thing that comforts me is that I'm situated in a room that has a great view of the parking lot in the city below. My mother says she'll be visiting in a few days and she can get a flight here. In the meantime, I have to deal with him. You see, there's a man, a lone man, and he's standing in the parking lot of the hospital now. It's the same man. Why he's following me, I have no clue. He just stares at me, and I try not to stare back. I'll tell you something, I ain't looking outside my window right now to see if there's any man lurking out there. Oh, hell no. Oh, heck no. So I don't know, does that fit your after dark needs? I've got another story This is where we go into the realms of the bizarre. Only it follows on nicely from Jimmy Jeans last night. Jimmy Jeans came on last night. I have to thank Jimmy for that. He came on at the drop of a hat. Brad, I thought Brad Olsen was on. And I'd got it all wrong. And I said to Jimmy, he's like, no problem, I'll come on. But we went on air last night. I'm going to pull it up here. In 2 secs. Yeah, it is here. Let me just get this on 2 secs. Yeah, so last night I uploaded this. This here. Which is Something Evil Lives Under LA, Lost Civilizations, and The Magic Gold Hats. There's our Jimmy there. I'll give my own video a like because I'm a narcissist like that. But it's getting some good views over there. People are quite interested in this. But it talks about reptilians and that. Really weird. Really, really weird because we're about to get into a really, really weird story in a moment, folks. This is like, wow. Totally off the charts. It's crazy. It's woo. But we're going to go there. I'm going to have a little drink of my juice before we get there. I'm going to turn down that rain because it makes me want to go to the toilet somewhat. Finished the juice. Now we're on to the coffee. Yes, indeed. Let's see, what are people saying in the chat room? About the man, great story, says Leslie, isn't it? When I first found that one, I'm reading through it. Got halfway down it and I'm putting it in a folder. I'm like, yep, that'll do. I could tell it was just getting creepier and creepier all the way through. And I did add a little bit of effects. I did add the odd word here and there to make it sound a little bit better, you know? You know what I'm saying? Fair use, transformative art, ladies and gentlemen. I'm an artist. I paint with other people's words. Yes, indeed. But we're going to get ready now. We're going to get ready for our final story of the night. And we're after 3:33. We were doing 3:33 when that man, he was probably stood outside the hospital. How many of you guessed? I think Buzzacino got where it was going. I think Buzz got it. Yep. Buzz, a man of many talents. He's like our YouTube philosopher. Yes. He comes in with like little kind of stanzas. Is that what you call them? I don't know. Little prose. Poetry. I don't bloody know. Yeah, mistaking me with somebody that's intelligent. You know, it's not Kev here anymore. It's Dave. Malaya's giving it a big pfft. And can you believe it, Malaya? The Google algorithm actually held that for review. Pfft. I know. It's a noise we all make. Pfft. I get it. So then, we're almost ready to get back into this crazy woo. Are we almost ready, folks? Are we? Are we? Nearly. PPP. Smoke 'em if you've got 'em, as they say. And let's see, what will we have for this one? Aye, that'll do. Hold on tight, folks, because now it's story number 2. And this is called My Uncle Left Me a Shifty Little Bar in His Will. And there's some wild parties happening here. So it says, while my bar's regulars are really all rather weird, physical altercations happen less frequently than one might expect. If they do occur, they're normally provoked by Tommy, the old drunkard that frequents us. He tips well but behaves poorly, but he's not the only one who occasionally enjoys stirring up the patrons. Still, these little fights are nothing, and my staff and I would ever be unable to deal with. For one, if I start yelling a bit, everyone usually quiets down. Andrix, and it must be his friend Andric, says I have a voice like a cockatiel, not unpleasant when kept low, but absolutely unbearable when used for shrieking. But more importantly, whenever things really do get out of hand, there's still Bo, my bouncer. He's a damn beast, broad and huge like a closet. Seriously, it's amazing. He could just pick one up and throw them out in the street like they're a plushie. We also have this really big, bright sign up saying that we reserve the right to refuse service to anybody, just to show people that we won't take their crap if they're planning on getting up to something stupid. What I'm trying to say is that we're always pretty well prepared for when a fight breaks out. However, none of us were prepared for what would happen that one cool summer's night in July 5 years ago. In this regard, there's something I need to confess to you. I've been keeping a tiny piece of information from you, and it's the kind of info I know you'd want. But for now, I'll start at the beginning. The new saloon got a call 2 days before this would happen. We rarely ever get calls since most of our patrons have been frequenting us for a long time. So, what reason would there be for any call like that? We don't exactly get too many newcomers who could have any questions for us. Still, even the unexpected happens from time to time. And that day, it was Andric who picked up the phone. As I said, calls are seldom, so I went over to listen. Oh, congrats. Yes. Sure, that won't be a problem. All righty then. Until then. So I said, who was that? Well, it's just some guy who wants to come in for the bachelor party the day after tomorrow. Asked if we could push some tables together so him and his buddies could sit as a group. Nice. Is it somebody we know? Well, he said he's been here before, he replied, shrugging. Didn't give me a name, just said they'd arrive around 7 or something. I guess that's sufficient. I didn't know you guys got married at all. Andric laughed. Of course we do. To some of us, getting married is the whole deal. Really? Oh, you bet. I frowned and I looked at him and I said, is that like a kiss the frog kind of thing, or... And then Andric replied with a shrug, it depends. There's folks that can only disguise themselves as humans, but once they get married, they're granted full humanity, which for some reason is something that they all particularly want. On the other hand, there's those that'll get close to you, and once you share a bed with them, they'll eat your liver while you're asleep. I winced. You what? Do you think the bachelor party guy's going to... What? No, I was just telling you about this extreme stuff. I bet this guy's really cool. Some don't even get with humans at all. They can get married among one another too. He sounded pretty chill over the phone, so I think he might be one of those ones. Andric smiled and patted me on the shoulder. Besides, even if he does decide to eat whomever he's going to marry, he'll probably never find out anyways. So that was really comforting. The evening the bachelor party was announced to take place started rather innocently. At 7 o'clock, a group of around 10 men, all looking to be in their 30s and 40s, squeezed through the front doors. We had already set up their tables, and I remembered being surprised at how normal they all looked. There seemed to be nothing unusual about them. They were all dressed nicely, although some of them wore shirts, and they were a little crumpled, and one had a beer stain on his shorts. It seemed as though we hadn't been their first destination, that's for sure. In the beginning, they all appeared to be enjoying themselves. They were in high spirits and were just downing drinks. Their second round, their third round, and then that's when two of them began to argue with one another. I don't know what the reason for this sudden disagreement had been, but before I knew it, they'd both gotten up from their bench and were now facing each other with furious looks on their faces. Hey, what's going on over there? I shouted. You really have to shut these things down right away before they get out of hand. And the two of them turned to me and looked at me and motioned. I motioned for them to sit the heck down. They did, but it wasn't long until they started up again. I groaned and walked over to them from behind the counter. That's it, you two. Either you cut it out, or a lot of you is going to get kicked out. Bo stuck his head inside and says, everything all right back there? The two men settled back down, despite still exchanging hateful looks. I was just turning to make my way behind the counter again when I suddenly felt somebody tap me on the shoulder. Psst, hey. It was a man's voice. It was raspy and low. Sounded familiar somehow. I turned around to see a man with a pale complexion and dark hair standing behind me, treading from foot to foot in somewhat nervous fashion. I didn't recognise him, though I sensed that I had seen him before. Sorry for those two, he stammered. Are you with them? Yes, he replied. It's not exactly, but I came here with them. We're pals. Oh, well, that's nice. So what can I do for you? Well, it's nothing really. I was just thinking, I don't know if you remember me, but we've talked before. It's been a long time. I guess I just wanted to see if you'd, I don't know, like to talk, catch up. Well, I squinted at him. Where had I met this guy before? It must have been here at the bar. I didn't know exactly where and when. And there was no name in my head to go with the face of his. So? Question mark, he stuttered. He really stuttered quite a lot now. I mean, unless you're busy, he paused. Oh, of course you are. I'm sorry. I'll let you get back to what you're doing. I don't know whatever came over me. I suppose I simply thought we'd... And his voice trailed off and he gave me a forced chuckle. Never mind. His name, what was it again? Something with a C. Suddenly, there was a loud crunching noise. It sounded meaty, and for some reason I shuddered just hearing it. Before I could even look up, something red came flying past me and landed both on the side of my face and the back of the other man's head. For a split second, we stood as still as statues, staring into each other's startled eyes. Then we turned around at the exact same moment, and I don't think I'll ever forget the sight I was about to behold, because there on the floor were the two men I'd just told off, the ones who had been arguing before. At least I thought it was them. I could only really tell with one of them, to be honest. Where did it go? I found it. I could only really tell with one, to be honest. And the one that was wedged in below the other. His eyes were wide with shock, and blood was spluttering out from an open wound on his neck. The man sitting on top of him didn't even look like a person anymore. He opened his mouth wider than was humanly possible, as if though he'd somehow unhinged his jaws. He apparently couldn't get it closed again, and then he turned and looked at me, his gaping maw sporting a row of long, needle-like teeth. I found myself frozen in place. In fact, everybody in the room seemed to have fallen into a similar shock, and they were all sat there, rigidly. I finally managed to turn my head and look down at the wounded man. He was going to pass, I was sure of it. The other guy had torn an entire piece of flesh out of his throat, and I could even see the red lump on the floor beside the two of them. I felt like gagging. Suddenly, the skin of the injured man's face seemed to slacken. It almost looked as if it was melting, slipping off his skull like some kind of liquid mask. This happened in the span of only half a minute. In the end, all that was left of him was a pile of discarded skin and clothing. And from this pile, a large, green and black lizard came crawling out. Its snout emerged first as it slowly dragged itself across the floor, and I shouted, "What the I heard myself utter, but I couldn't even finish my own sentence. The bar was still lying in total, stunned silence. Finally, one of the men from the table rose to his feet, walked over to us, bent down and picked up the lizard. He held the large animal in his arms with seemingly no difficulty at all. He turned to face me and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." One by one, the men made their way out of the door. The last one leaving his entire wallet on the table, telling us to take all of the money inside for cleaning and whatever else we needed. Cole, are you coming? He asked the man I'd been talking to, but he shook his head. Don't wait up, he said. Cole, I stared at him, mouth agape. He smiled awkwardly. So that's how Cole found his way back to the new saloon. He told me the entire story. He'd apparently taken off to roam the world, or roam the world a little. He'd stayed in Spain, then Greece, then some island, the name of which I don't remember. He'd done research on shapeshifters and body snatchers of all kinds, which is how he met the lizard people. They apparently climb into the bodies of the living humans and spread out inside them. They're not trying to damage their vessel, but sometimes it ends up deforming it when it becomes angry and when it's attacking others, which is what just happened at the bar. Cole explained that one of them wanted to use him at first, but somehow managed to talk his way out of it, and the group ended up taking him along on their travels. They're actually very welcoming, he explained. Ambitious too. One of them has his mind set on becoming a politician. I'm not sure how that's going to work out for him, but he's really cool and he wants to make a difference. Are you planning on staying here? I don't think so. I don't want to go back home, at least not yet. Maybe I'll get the chance to make things right someday, but I think it'll be another while until that happens. That's kind of how we worked out the business arrangement we've been upholding ever since. Cole helps out around the bar when we need him, and I pay him for it. That way, he always has an extra hand in case something happens without having to put up with someone constantly standing in our way. Cole was also the one who drove me to the hospital the day Lutham poisoned me. Now, I know, folks, listen, if this story sounds like it's all over the place, it sounded like that to me when I first read it as well, but we're going to go on. We're going on. Speaking of which, I already mentioned we're working on a way to get back to normal. My staff has been coming around to visit me. They can slip in when I'm not supposed to have visitors, and today was a relatively quiet one. I only had a single episode, and I'm starting to get better at enduring them, though that certainly does not mean they're pleasant or they're a pleasant experience. My cousin dropped Nichols off for a few hours, so far my son hasn't seen me have a fit, and I'm scared it'll happen when he's here, but his company is a huge comfort. And I remembered he was sitting at the table across from my bed with his colouring book when Andric came in. He was dressed to go out, wearing his brown trench coat, leather gloves and glasses, and he seemed weirdly excited as he pulled up a chair to sit beside me. "How are you?" he began. I grunted and he shook his head. "I think I might have come up with a plan. I've had this idea for a while now. I needed time to develop it." I sat up in bed laboriously, straightening up to see eye to eye with him, and he had my undivided attention. I gestured for him to speak. "It might be better if I kept this to myself," he said. You came here only to tell me you weren't going to tell me?" I asked incredulously. "In the first place, I came here to see how you were doing, but I need your permission for this. You see, it sort of involves the little one," and he nodded over at my son. So I took in a deep breath and about to tell him to stick his plans somewhere else, but he raised a hand. "Please let me finish. He won't get hurt. You know I'd never ever put him in any danger, and I just need you to trust me on this. If it's not dangerous, then why aren't you telling me? I've known you for a long time. In fact, I believe I know you better than most people. Most importantly, I know what's your style and what isn't, and this is not. This is more like something I would do, but I really think it's going to work. Please give me a chance. I can do this. Nicholas is going to be fine, I promise." "Are you sure? Because if anything happens to that kid of mine, listen, if he gets a scratch on him, I'll lie down and let you beat me to jelly, and I swear I wouldn't so much as complain." I finally sank back into my pillow and thought, well, okay, do it. Andric quickly reached out to squeeze my hand before getting up and walking over to my son. He talked to him in a quiet voice, and I saw Nicholas nod, a serious look in his big round eyes. He slid off the chair, and Andric handed him his jacket. "You're going now?" I asked, brows furrowed in concern. "We'll be back before you know it," Andric replied. "When? And where are you going? Can't you at least give me a hint?" "All right. The general train of thought is that Norman has a daughter and a grandchild, according to you." "Yes," I muttered, feeling my stomach sink slowly. "Well, do you think he loves them?" He remained silent, staring at Andric in disbelief, and he gave me a thin smile. "Well, I suppose we will find out." And that, folks, leads into a part 2 of this story that we're not going to do today, and it is all over the place. Kazi, exactly. That's probably a more apt story. But yes, the reason why I went for that one tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I know it was a bit over the place, a bit kind of woo-woo, a bit kind of obviously made up, or was it? But because it tied in with the Lizard City that Jimmy had brought up yesterday, it was in the folder. It wouldn't have been one I probably would have gone for tonight, because we've had good woo here tonight. That one was just a bit weird, a bit crazy. So what we're going to do now, we're going to wind it down. We're going to take it slow. It's coming up for 4 a.m. in the UK here. So I'm going to come into the chat room in a moment. I'm going to find out some ideas for After Dark content. And I think, as you can tell, I'm actually more lively and awake at this time of night. And when I don't have one eye on the clock thinking we've got the show coming up, it's nice just to be able to chillax, kick back, and hang with you folk out there. So I'm going to find out what you've been up to, what woo we can get into next on After Dark. If there's any deep, dark woo going on just now, we'll have a quick look. And then we'll get out of here, because I'm sure there's far better channels with far better content that would be far more rewarding to your intellect than what I am offering you here today. But listen, I know you lot. You love yourself a bit of Dave Woo. Don't knock it. Don't knock it, folks. I'm telling you. Hang on. I was the one that was knocking it. Alright, I get you. Now then, alright. Kazi is dropping the woo today. Oh, the Dropa stones. Now that there is some mystery history type stuff if ever I heard it. We'll get to the Dropas in just a moment, but we're going to go and head on over to Lon Strickler's website, because we've got full permission to use any of the content over there. and they have daily reports of cryptids. So we go and take a look at what today's daily cryptid is. I think that'd be a good idea. That would definitely add to our After Dark content here. Let's see though. I'd like to hear more and see more stories about. I think they're called rakes. Oh, dude, listen. You want me to tell you about the rake, man? You know what's really weird about the rake? Wait a minute. What's really weird about the rake, dude, is that we have this guy here. Hang on. We have this guy here comes on to warrior mode. Stan Gordon. He's been researching the paranormal UFOs since way back. He's like one of the leading experts on the Kecksburg UFO. But he keeps on telling me, Bill, Travis, and the team over, Derek as well, over on warrior mode, that it's pale, emaciated kind of rake looking entities that they're getting the most reports of nowadays. That's what they are getting their most sightings of. Something that looks like the rake. I know. But there was a farmer had seen it on the side of the road. His initial reaction to that was to go home, bolt all the doors and windows, load his shotgun, and sit aiming it at the door. That's how much it freaked out a dude that's obviously like a hardy guy living on a farm, you know, been about a bit. But at one sight is something like this. And like I say, Stan Gordon, he's probably one of the more logical thinking. He doesn't, the investigating part, he doesn't just like, you know, not like me, he's just sitting in front of a computer digging up stories. So it takes eyewitness reports, and that's what he says is the most common thing that he's hearing about. And even Lon Strickler as well. Lon, when he was on warrior mode the last time, talked about the white, pale humanoids. I don't know what they are. No idea, but anytime I hear it, sounds like the rake. They talk about the eyes glowing yellow, glowing white, weirdness. So over on Phantoms and Monsters, we've got cryptid bipedal canine reported near Point Pleasant. Dogman, anyone? So it says, Lon, this is the formal report I wrote up 3 days after the sighting. It says here, the following report is a Phantoms and Monsters 14 research team member, Rob Shaw from Point Pleasant. Lon, this is the formal report I wrote up 3 days after the sighting, outlining the situation and the sighting. If you have any more questions, please let me know. So January 14th, 2014. A couple of nights ago, around 11:30 p.m., a local young lady had a very scary sighting of a creature she described as like a werewolf, only scarier. My location is locally known here in Point Pleasant as Cat's Eye on Madison Avenue, and 2 nights ago, this young lady was sitting on her front porch, an enclosed patio with a few large windows, and one window open in the front, beside the front door, smoking a cigarette. And just after 11 p.m, the visibility was good, up to 100 feet because of street lights. She said before the sighting, she'd heard strange noises, and the local dogs had been going nuts off and on without any apparent reason. As she was having a smoke, she noticed movement, thinking it was someone walking down the railroad tracks. She looked up and saw something that blew her mind. It was, in her words, a thing that had the head of a dog, almost exactly like a German shepherd, and was walking like a person on 2 legs. She said that she saw its eyes, and that's when she noticed it was staring at her. She said that she became lost in its eyes. Any other description she cannot recall. Clearly, after seeing it look at her, and then her seeing its eyes. She did tell me that it was either dark coloured, and almost had the look of wearing an oversized black sweatshirt, as in meaning it was rather large, bulky in the upper body. But she didn't think it was a sweatshirt, but her hair or fur. I asked her to clarify this, and she said that that's really the only thing she noticed and can remember. Other than the head and description, she said that the height was in the neighbourhood of 6 feet, maybe just a bit less. She stated that several times how the eyes drew her in. She said the creature took a couple of steps towards her, and at that time she saw a flash of light. The creature looked towards the direction it was originally heading, and in a very quick movement, spinned and took off in the direction it came from. Now, the brief flash of light, she soon found out, was her mother's headlights as she turned into the road. She repeatedly asked her mother if she'd seen anything near the railroad tracks when she was near home. She said no, nothing. However, she was not paying much attention because she was late getting in and was tired. What I considered very interesting about this is the government installation located directly across from the witness's home. As an array of cameras installed over the entire property. It's also patrolled by armed guards. It's too bad we'll never be able to see it, but I'm almost certain that this creature was recorded on their cameras. And that comes from Robbie Shaw. And below are the maps I made to show detailed descriptions of the events. So this government installation, this is something, there's the installation down here. This is something that Travis has spoke about before in relation to the Mothman. Very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Now, Kazi mentioned the Dropa stones. ancient discs, ancient CD-ROMs. That's what they are. That's what I thought. Listen, when I first came across the Dropa stones, I did think they were like some kind of ancient disc containing information. Something like that. We can see images of them here. If we come down here, the Dropa stones, otherwise known as the Zopa stones or Dropas stones or Dropka stones, are said by some ufologists, and I like that, pseudo-archaeologists. Dang, dude. I'd love to be a pseudo-archaeologist. To be a series of at least 716 circular stone discs dating back 12,000 years on which tiny hieroglyph-like markings may be found. Each disc is claimed to measure up to 1 foot in diameter and carry 2 grooves containing from a hole in their centre in the form of a double spiral. The hieroglyph-like markings are said to be found in these grooves. No record has been found of the stones being displayed in any of the world's museums. Therefore, they're assumed to be a hoax. So it says in 1962, Sum Nui was reported to have concluded that the grooves on the disc were actually very tiny hieroglyphs, none of which were of a pattern that had been seen before, and which can only be seen with the use of a magnifying glass. He announced that he had deciphered them into a story that told of a spacecraft that crash-landed in the area of the cave, the Bayan Har Mountains, and that the ship contained the Dropa people who could not fix it and therefore had to adapt to Earth. Further, his research claims that the Dropa people were hunted down and killed by the local Han Chinese for a period, and Sum Nui noted specifically that one glyph apparently said, the Dropa came down from the clouds in their aircraft. Our men, women and children hid in the caves 10 times before sunrise. And when at last we understood the sign language of the Dropas, we realised that the newcomers had peaceful intentions. Sum Nui is said to have published his findings in 1962 in a professional journal and was subsequently ridiculed and met with disbelief. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that we should all just say, oh, well then, Nothing to see here. It's been debunked. It sounds to me like they would quite happily have people think that this is debunked and it's nothing and it's a hoax. I've always thought there's something to the Dropa, to be honest with you. Whether it's this version of the story, I don't know. It says shortly afterwards, he's said to have gone to Japan in a self-imposed exile, where he did not long after he completed the manuscript of his work. So Russian researchers requested the discs for studying, and allegedly several were shipped to Moscow. Now, Russia is brilliant in the way that I'm no fan of like their politics over the years. I'm not going to get political today. But one thing I have noticed is they do seem to be a bit more willing to talk about X-File type stuff. The Chinese as well. Like a different attitude they've got towards it, you know? So it says once there, it is said that they were scraped for loose particles and put through a chemical analysis which revealed they contained large amounts of cobalt and other metallic substances. Now, as recorded in the Soviet magazine Sputnik, Dr. Vyacheslav Syzev described an experiment where the discs were supposedly placed on a turntable, whereby they were shown to vibrate or hum in an unusual rhythm, as though an electrical charge was passing through them. Very interesting. What if, like, we're talking about some kind of what about if it's I think now like some ancient kind of holographic thing? Like, what if you were to shine a special type of light into the grooves? Yeah, just like a holographic thing appearing behind me. Like, this studio is going to be just going to be blasting out information. The Akash, the Hall of Records is just going to come flying out of there. If you know how to play with your Dropa stones. I tell you folks, it's all in how you play with the Dropa stones. That's what it all comes down to. Angles and dangles and how you play with Dropa stones. So it says here, they were showed to hum in an unusual rhythm as they had an electrical charge. Okay, so then we go on to Ernst Wegerer. Supposedly, Big Ernst was an Austrian engineer, supposedly, so we don't even know who he was, who in 1974 visited the Banpo Museum in Jian, Jiangxi province, where he saw two of the Dropa stones. And it is said that when he inquired about the discs, the manager could tell him nothing, but permitted him to take one in his hand and photograph them up close. Now, he claims that in his photographs, the hieroglyphs cannot be seen, as they have been hidden by the flash from the camera and have also deteriorated. By 1994, the discs and the manager had disappeared from the museum. Look at that there. 12,000 years old, folks. Whatever the heck that is, whatever was going on. Maybe, hang on, maybe it's I need Jimmy Jeans here. Maybe it's the rim of one of those magic hats. Remember the magic hats? No, not that one. Magic golden hats. That was it. Here we go. If I come over here, we'll get them. There we go. Like, we were looking at these yesterday. This one here, if I pull this up, they say, right, that this one here, that one on the left, the rim, they think the brim of the hat's missing, right? Because it looks different from these ones. Maybe that's the brim. Look, that's the brim. It's the brim of the magic hat. Hey, I don't know. I'm probably way off with that one. Okay, I get it. But very interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. What else does it say about them quickly? Let's see. The Dropa stones. Bad archaeology. No. Oh, I love this website. Love it. the mysterious Dropa stones. So we've had that, 716 of them. The discovery of the mysterious discs took place in 1938 in the mountains of Bayan Karaula on the border between China and Tibet, where a Chinese professor, Chi Pu Te, detected regular aligned rows of graves. The skeletons measured only around 4 feet in height. A what? The skeletons measured only around 4 feet in height and had skulls which were larger and overdeveloped. Maybe they did need big hats for those big-headed aliens. Inside a nearby cave system, Chi Pu Ti and his team found interest in rock art which depicted figures with round helmets. Engraved in the rock were also the sun, the moon, the earth, and the stars, connected by groups of pea-sized dots. Further inside the cave, the team found a collection of stone discs, most of them buried in the floor of the cave. And it goes on to Sum Nui, the dude we were talking about. Russians, yep, we've got as recorded in the Soviet magazine Sputnik, when the testing the disc with an oscillograph, a surprising oscillation rhythm was recorded, as if the scientists said they'd become electrically charged or had functioned as electrical conductors. Dang, dude. Have any of the Dropa people survived? Well, let's do this first. In 1994, the German scientist Hartwig Hausdorff and colleague Peter Krasa are said to have visited China and the Bampo... Oh, we had that one. At the time of the discovery, the cave area was still inhabited by two tribes known as the Hams and the Dropas. Anthropologists have apparently been unable to categorize either tribe into any other known race. Oh, bada bing, bada boom. Ancient aliens lived in that cave. Telling you, man. They're neither Chinese, Mongol, nor Tibetan. No, they are Dropian. Or they come from the Pleiades, one of the two. They are yellow-skinned with thin bodies and disproportionately large heads. Don't tell Jimmy Jeans. Oh no, he was on about the cone heads and the big heads last night. Corresponding to the skeletal remains found in the caves in 1938, they have sparse hair on their bodies, have large eyes, and their height measures 3 foot 6 inches to 4 foot 7 inches, with an average height of 4.2. Oh my word, or 4 foot 2 inches. So the Dropa stones are immersed in controversy, with many claiming it's a hoax. Alright, cool. Okay, if that's a hoax, what's going on with these people that have no genetic link to any other known species or race on the planet? And they happen to come from a cave where these really, really crazy looking ancient stones were found. Like really crazy looking ancient stones. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's just a fake, Kev. Come on, man. Don't go connecting the genetic anomalies and ancient artifacts that look so far out of place it would blow your mind. Don't bother with it, Kev. I mean, come on. That's obviously a hoax, right? I mean, if you were going to make a hoax, this is what you would do. You would think, I'm going to go and what's going to be almost like, what can I do to hoax people? Let's keep it semi-logical. I know what I'll do. I'll make ancient stone CD discs. No, not even the grifters that populate this website of YouTube have come up with anything as ridiculous as that. That ain't it. I actually think my brim of the golden hat was a better offering than a fake, to be honest with you. Look, even he's saying like the Dropa. See? He knows. Or she. Or it. They. There you go. No, just a fake. Bottom of a hat, obviously. Come on, man. Come on, man. Exactly.
Excuse me, it's man.
Well, you'll have to take that up with Joe Biden. He's the one that said man, not me. What can I say?
How dare
Oh,
you?
you shut up, you as well. What kind of stones is it, Greta? Tell me. Come on, man. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to have a drink of coffee and then we're going to start to to wind us down. Aye, indeed. Aye, indeed. Been good fun, though, eh? Boom, 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 boom. Now, this isn't woo, but do you remember we were like on one of the streams we were looking at that thing that had gone viral, the weirdest like viral thing in the world ever, where there was people from Russia to Rochester over in America tuning in to see where the Glasgow and Scottish snowplows were, because they were like, they had cool names, Ready Steady Ice, and that was one of them. No, Ready Steady Snow. Yeah, we had other silly names as well that kind of don't spring to mind at the moment. But the one I didn't find, the night we done that stream, I couldn't believe it. It's like the universe had a laugh. It was like the universe held this back. It was like, this is the one name of a gritter that Kev needs to really complete his set.
How dare you?
Oh, how dare I? How dare I, Greta? Or should I say, Gritter? Yes, Gritter Thunberg. That's how we roll in Scotland. That's how we roll around in our snow trucks. Gritter Thunberg, no less. Yes, indeed. There you go. What's up, ZX, man? ZX, what's up, man? Are you not like all lively like me at what, 4:23 in the morning? Is this not like your optimum time of day, dude? Look at me, man, I'm in my element. I'll start to get sleepy in a couple hours. You see, my body clock is back to bloody front. I'd be better off going down under or moving to probably the west coast of America now. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. See, people love Greta Thunberg. I like that. Us Scots, we know how to have a laugh, you know. We know how to have a laugh. Exactly. Exactly. Well, we'll have a look at some of the other funny named. See if we can find any of the other funny names. Gritters. There we go. Itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow anti-slip machinery. Spready Flintoff. Freezy Rider. That's some of the names of these things, folks. Here we go. Let's see. I'll go away. Here we go. We've got Sprinkles, David Plowie, Kyle Spreadmund, Maureen Gritman, Nicole Saltslinger. Oh, ding ding. Nicole Saltslinger, ladies and gentlemen. Basil Salty. Roger Spreaderer. Oh, nice, nice. It can't be a bit of Roger Federer in the tennis now. Come on. William Wilberfrost. Gritty Bang Bang. I like it. Walter the Salter. And remember, folks, these are actually the real names of these vehicles. It's not like comedy. This is what the owners have called them. It's brilliant. They've got a map where you can track them, and it's like they're racing each other. And we've got Gritty McGritface, Spready Mercury, Thaw Enforcement. I like this one. Itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow anti-slip machinery, Spready Flintoff, Freezy Rider, Gritney Spears, True Grit, Gritney Houston, Erner Snare, and then Ease Sliding of Yorkshire. Yes, indeedy, there he is. There he is, the man himself, Jimmy Jeans. Jimmy Jeans, guess what, dude? I have solved an ancient mystery today, my friend. You know how? You know how, Jimmy? Check this out. Wait a minute. Drop of stones. Check this, Jim. I bloody sussed it. There's the rim of the hat. There's the rim of the golden hat, my friend. We've found the rim of the hat. It's not a drop of stone. We need to get in touch with these pseudo-archaeologists and let them know we've sussed it out, my friend. Now, granted, it's a very small head, but we've been talking about potential aliens, Jimmy. Get this, they're small, and they've got big heads. And they've got big heads. I don't know why I wanted to shout that twice there, but Jimmy, it was like the universe has confirmed your absolute insanity from yesterday. You see, I need to learn every time I laugh at one of your mad things you come out with. Who always has the last laugh, James? Who? You. Exactly, dude. So on that note, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. It's been a blast, let me tell you. Definitely going to be back for more After Darks. ZX, don't panic. Don't panic. I'm not only ever going to be doing during the night streams. That would be crazy, even by my standards, all right? But dang, we've had a good couple hours here. I think that's probably about the optimum streaming time for you hardcore KBSers out there. Jimmy, of course, Marmouth knew you were right. See, the pseudo-archaeologist had your back. You see, Jess, I'm only using that term because I found it rather endearing in that article. I like that. I like that. I take my pseudo-anything over whatever the alternative is. How did I get here? Oh, who cares? Anywho, on that note, remember, folks, keep it real. And I don't even need to say that. I've got a bloody sound clip that can say it for me, right?
Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.
Thank you all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this half as much as I have. I've got more After Dark content just lurking about in a folder. Now that I've seen that you people out there seem to like it at this time of night. I'm only joking, ZX. But there will be more. There will be more late night woo right here on KBS2 for all of you. Oh, what?